Order. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Tucker Whitman.
Here.
Andy Dennison.
Present.
Ben Vitale.
Here.
Chris Petrus.
Present.
Paul Pickney.
Here.
Aileen McNabb Coleman is excused. Keith Batman.
Here.
Joseph DeForest.
Present.
Charlie Ripley.
Present.
Joseph Bennett.
Here.
Elaine Daly.
Here.
Timothy Lattimore.
Here.
Tim, you here?
I was in
Michael
a
Didio.
conversation.
Here.
Ryan Foley.
Present.
Pat Mahonic.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of prayer, remembering D-Day, June 6, 1944.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We would like to pass on our condolences for Mr. Thomas Brown, beloved mother of Mitch Brown, a Buildings and Grounds employee, Richard Guzlak, a retired Auburn policeman for more than 28 years, Michael Harmon, former chief of the Auburn Fire Department, and Robert Brower, who was the president of the Owasco Lake Watershed Management Council. So we do have a public hearing authorizing the addition of requested parcels to Cayuga County Consolidated Agricultural District Number 5. Is there anybody that would like to speak on that issue? All right, I will continue to come back to that one. Proclamations?
Proclamations. Cayuga County salutes Brady T. Eltzer, Eagle Scout, June 2nd, 2018. That has already been presented. Cayuga County St. Baldrick's Day, June 10th, 2018, also presented.
Thank you. We
Still recovering from that.
We do have a presentation from Sarah Roberts, Emergency Management.
Thank you for giving us a quick 10 minutes to present to you at a high level the continuity of operations plan that we've been working on for the last few months. A lot of support from department heads and Justin. We brought a good plan forward for hopefully or for adoption next month. I'm not going to take any more of the time. Sarah's going to give you the presentation about the plan.
Welcome, my name is Sarah Roberts. I was the consultant that worked on the continuity of operations and continuity of government plan with several of the folks in this room over to the side. You have a very dedicated planning team. So we're just going to give a brief overview of how the process went. And just so you know, you do have a hard copy of the Volume 1 plan that we'll be talking about in front of you. There's a lot of information in it. We won't be going through all of it, but for your purpose, I would take a look at it. So what is continuity of operations? Is anybody familiar with that term that didn't participate in the planning process? So continuity of operations is an effort for individual executives, departments, agencies to ensure that all of the county level or government level primary mission essential functions continue to happen during an emergency that either affects your actual physical locations or an emergency that's due to a hazard like a flood or a hurricane or a winter storm, power outage. Crew planning is good business practice because it can happen during an emergency that affects everybody in the county, and it can also happen when it's just your building. It enables all your departments and your partner agencies to know what to do when one of these events occurs, and then how to react to it and how to make sure that services continue to happen for your actual citizens. There's a lot of legal authorities. This is a little bit small. It is in the presentation in front of you. There is an executive law called Article 2B, Section 23, Number 7, that requires all county governments to actually have some level of continuity planning and continuity of government established. And it's actually to make sure that during emergencies that you can continue to function. There's also, every 2 years now, the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services conducts a county preparedness assessment, or as we call it, SEPA in our world. And this was actually an area of improvement that was identified in the 2015 Cayuga County and 2017 Cayuga County SEPA. So the state actually acknowledged that this was something that Cayuga was lacking and that it was necessary for their preparedness and response, and recommended to Cayuga to actually develop a plan. So key components. Who's familiar with Abbott and Costello? Right? Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know who's on third. That's sort of the basic tenets of continuity. Who's going to do it? How are you going to get it? How are you going to restore it? Where are you going from there? So what critical things do we need to do? Who will do them? Which staff person, which leadership, which executive person is responsible? How will it be done? What equipment and resources will you need? If you can't access your office, how many computers do you need? What IT access do you need support? Where will you be doing these things? Again, if you can't use your office, where are you going to operate from? Do you need an alternate location? Are you going to be working out of your car or out of your home? How quickly can you actually resume your normal operations, your normal 8 to 5, 9 to 5, at your office, at your new office if your office was destroyed? Who's in charge? Who's actually making all the decisions at the county level, at your department level, at your agency level? How is that going to actually happen? And then lastly, when do you get to return to normal? When do you actually go back to your normal operations? We call that reconstitution. It's a term later. But how do you actually get back to normal and do your daily business as you had done it before the emergency? These are sort of the definitions of what is your essential functions, what do you actually have to do all the time, what can wait, what can be put off, who are your essential functions. A good example is the county administrator, is your emergency services group. Those are all essential functions to help you get through the emergency and make those necessary decisions. What do you need? How are you going to restore stuff? What are your vital records? What are your vital systems? Computer access, computer equipment, paper copies of forms that you would need to use every day. Where are you going to go? How are you going to do this? What location are you going to go to? Are you going to work from home? Are you going to work from another location? Are you going to work from a fairground or a leased office space? When do you relocate? When do you restore different programs? 24 hours, 72 hours, 96 hours, 4 weeks. Who's in charge? Literally, who's in charge? That's the who's on first joke right there, right? Who's in charge? Who's making the shots? Who's making those calls and making those determinations of who's going to be where, how's that going to happen? And then, again, when do you get to go back to normal? So, return to normal, reconstitution, devolution. I know that those probably aren't familiar terms, but that's what is your new normal, right? So this was the phased process that we went through. We started in February. We had an excellent group of department leadership involved from all over the county. We organized our resources. We talked about the different hazards. In March, we identified all the key COOP elements, COOP continuity plan, and that was also developed through a survey that we deployed to each department. Each department filled out the survey, and then we used all of that information to build the Volume 1 document in front of you, as well as each department's individual plan. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Then we developed the plan. We went through and we wrote all the sections. Again, you had a great county team that helped participate in that process. We assembled the plan. Everybody on the team did a very careful review, provided lots of comments, asked for clarifications. We talked through some things that weren't clear, and then we got to our final draft, which is in front of you today. And now it's ready for final review and approval. And so we're at that last stage of the project, and that's why we're doing the presentation this evening. So this is just a brief look at what our team was. So everybody's involved in continuity planning. So all of the county stakeholders are involved. We had a planning partnership, which was all of the departments, and then we had a steering committee that was comprised of key departments within the county. Good example is like the health department, Office of Mental Health, planning, human resources, social services, that kind of thing. And then the core planning team was really myself, Neil, and Melissa Reeves, one of the folks that works for Neil. We kind of kept the ship moving and kept the parts moving. So this is just sort of how it was organized. Your planning partners were your county agencies, different individuals, non-government organizations, state partners. And then your steering committee was pretty much comprised of all of the critical services that Cayuga provides to its citizens, county departments, individual departments. Volume 1 and Volume 2. So Volume 1 is that overarching Cayuga County plan. This is the county's plan. Volume 2 is each department's individual plan. So each department within Cayuga's government structure now has its own individual COOP plan. They work together because the county has established its mission essential functions, and then each department has established its way of supporting those mission essential functions, as well as how they will continue to do business. So Volume 1 identifies all the county level mission essential functions, things that must be done, services that must be given. And it also provides an overview of the legal authorities, how things will happen in terms of decision making, and then kind of how that process, that arc of the emergency will happen from the time that you've identified there's a COOP plan, the COOP plan needs to be implemented, to the time that you get to go back to normal operations. Volume 2, as I said before, is each department's individual COOP plan. And they are responsible for developing their own strategies. For some departments, it can be very complicated. For larger departments like social services, and for some departments, it's a smaller department, 2 or 3 people, and it's a little bit easier because, well, 2 or 3 people, there's not a lot of delegations going on. But so Volume 2 actually establishes that with the goal of making sure that every department has planned for supporting those county level mission essential functions. Next month, in your July meeting, a resolution will be presented for approval to adopt the Volume 1 plan, and that was the purpose of the presentation this evening. So with that being said, we'll open it to questions.
Any questions? Mr. Dennison?
Should this be something that's put out to the public, so the public sees it?
We'll put it on OpenGov.
Nobody see it there.
He hits it, we got it.
Go ahead.
This is more of a document that outlines our essential functions, and I believe that exempts it from the Freedom of Information Law because it would expose our vulnerabilities. We'll share it with you as legislators providing oversight of the government operations, and there's some specific law, both at the federal level and the state level, that Fred researched to confirm that this wasn't a public document. You want to add to that, Fred?
That explains it. Thank you.
Other questions? All right.
All right, well,
Thank you.
for indulging us to provide this presentation. Look forward to bringing you the resolution for adoption. Thank you to Justin for the support throughout the process, and all the department heads that, and the members of their department that really stepped up and helped us close a lot of gaps.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public to be heard? Mr. Lattimore?
Chairman, Tim Brock is here tonight. He wanted to just have the floor for a second and just let us know what's going on out in the farmland. So, Mr. Brock, if you go to the podium over here.
I guarantee I'll be 5 minutes or less.
3.
Make everybody happy on this beautiful day. Thank you for having me here. I want to introduce what we're doing in the county and other counties around here. I'm Tim Brock, CEO of Sentinel Energy. And we have partnered with a company out of San Francisco called Brightmark Energy. We do, Brightmark's purpose is to build and acquire existing anaerobic digesters and build new anaerobic digesters, collect the gas, and clean it and sell it as renewable natural gas. Now, our first goal is to repurpose as many existing digesters in Cayuga County as we can, as well as Wyoming County and other counties. And by repurposing them, what we're going to do is we're going to clean the existing digesters. A lot of them are 9, 10 years old, they need to be cleaned out. We're actually going to discontinue the loud, polluting, reciprocating engines that create electricity. and are very expensive to maintain. We're going to turn those off. We're going to install new cleaning equipment. We're going to compress the gas, and we're going to put it in what we call a pod. Each farm will have a pod on it. And when that pod is full, a truck will come by, pick that pod up, put a new pod down, and deliver it to the pipeline. We're going to clean it to pipeline quality. Now, that's called renewable compressed natural gas. And we right now are in negotiations with many farms right here in Cayuga, and we're investigating where's the best point to put the gas into the pipeline. And it most likely is going to be here in the Auburn area. And I just kind of wanted to be here, let you know what we're doing. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Don't do it. Any questions?
Well, I just want to say environmentally, methane is not a very, very good gas in the atmosphere. So anything that we can do to try to compress that and put it into another form that's valuable to,
Yeah, one of the things too that we'll have, right now, right about 30% of the methane that's produced is flared into the atmosphere. We will be collecting 100% of that gas. So there will be no flaring, there will be no reciprocating engine. It's going to be a nice quiet operation and just putting it back into the pipeline.
And
Mr. Batman.
I apologize, I missed, you're from where?
Sentinel Energy. We're an
And you
energy
personally
conservation
are-
company.
You personally are from,
Personally, I'm from Saratoga Springs.
thank you.
and this.
In Florida, I have a place in Florida.
This, the county really doesn't have to do anything. This is a private enterprise that you have, that you're going to each individual farm
Correct.
and putting these new systems in to upgrade the
Correct.
digesters.
Yep, and we just want to let everyone here be aware of what we're doing. And if you had any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. And I've actually been working on this for almost full-time for 1.5 years. So there's a lot of intricacies that's been put in, and I think it's great for the community. It's a wonderful thing.
When you say put it back in the pipeline, so it's stored in pods, and from the pods it goes
To the pipeline. An injection point into the pipeline,
okay.
yes.
So there's no huge major storage facility, right?
No storage facility, just the little ones, and we call that a virtual pipeline. So we're actually creating a virtual pipeline of renewable compressed natural gas.
Thank you.
Well,
My
Just
pleasure.
a couple of years ago, we tried to study what it would cost to build an actual pipeline to the farms so that our industrial site could have the
Yes, that
renewable
was with-
gas on the
With Doug Young at
industrial
Spruce
site.
Haven,
Yep.
yeah.
And we found that would be too costly. This is a.
Yeah,
better
to
way.
do that pipeline, it's usually $1 million a mile. So this is a much better way to do it. They're doing it in Vermont, they're doing it in California, Wisconsin, and Minneapolis, and Minnesota. Now we're gonna be doing it here.
Mr. Dennison.
So is there some sort of cost incentive or something for like farms that don't have a digester to get a digester? Or, I mean, are you just looking at the existing?
No, our first phase is the existing. We would like to get all 30 of them in upstate New York. And then once we do that, then we're gonna start building new. And actually, the gas is actually getting credited as compressed renewable natural gas to California trucking companies. Pretty interesting, changing world. Thank you.
Thank
Enjoy your
you.
evening.
Thank you, Mr. Brock. All right, we have the minutes to approve from May 22nd.
Move them.
We have a motion by Mr. DeForest. Do we have a second? Who had the second? Mr. Pinckney?
Bennett.
Bennett?
Flip a coin.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those are carried. CCC report. Dr. Durant. Welcome.
Thank you, I appreciate the time and the opportunity. First, I'd like to recognize today with me, we have Trustee Carnicelli and Trustee Quinn. Thank you for being here. A couple weeks ago, I had the privilege to be able to stand in front of you and present in detail our college budget for your consideration. I won't go further into that unless there are specific questions, but I certainly appreciate the opportunity to talk about where we're at and what we're looking for from the county for support. As for the college, some updates. Our summer enrollment is up, primarily in the online environment, which we anticipate. And it's resulting in us to likely be up for enrollment for the year to be over 50 FTE. And when we set out this year, our target was to be level from one year to the next, and we hit that mark and actually are on pace to exceed it. Mostly because of our growth in the K-12 environment, as well as in our summer environment. I think it's been a positive year. As we look ahead for fall, which is where much of our focus is now, our applications continue to trend up between 2% and 3%. So as trustees and college leadership, we're setting up, our goal and our model right now is to be consistent, because given the decline of demographics and competition across the state and really nation for higher ed, that's a good goal right now. And so hopefully all indicators at this point indicate that we'll be able to hit those marks, exceed them this year, and be on pace to have a solid year coming in the fall. We're advertising, as we did a year ago, a number of instant admission days, both on our Fulton and Auburn campus, to try to really incentivize individuals to be able to come in for a one-stop experience from bringing in their past high school transcripts or equivalencies and leaving the college that particular day all registered for classes, placement tests completed and their bills in hand. So we have been seeing some success in being able to ease sort of the time commitment and that goes into choosing and then matriculating into the college. In the last month, we also have received a grant from the state, $750,000 plus for an early college model in information technology in partnership with the Fulton City School District. It's one that we're certainly excited about, to be able to put together pathways for high school students in a number of career areas. We have one here already set up at P-TECH with Auburn Large City School District in the area of manufacturing, and working with education leaders in our community here, we're continuing to identify more pathways that will be a priority for us in the coming year to help support school districts. I've talked a number of months. The trustees and the college began a search for a provost, and we went through the process this spring. At the conclusion of that search process, we've decided to suspend the process and to begin anew in the fall. Given the typical timelines for higher education searches and vetting, we feel as though that extending it at that moment wasn't in the best interest of anyone, but we're going to reconvene the search process, repost, and start fresh in the fall. We want to make sure that we get the right individual to be able to serve in this key role for the institution. In addition to that, we continue to this summer primarily be talking about setting up our goals for next year in the coming weeks, as well as exploring the idea of creating a new college strategic plan in the fall. The plan that the college recently worked on, I believe in 2013-14, and began implementation in the summer of my arrival. We feel as though we've made significant progress. The institution's evolving, and with the trustee leadership, we feel it's this point in time in the fall, it's time for us to be able to, with key stakeholders, develop a new strategic plan so we can clearly and articulately outline our vision for our future. So stay tuned on that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, get off the hook easy tonight.
You sick, lad?
I asked too many questions.
All right, committee reports and individual legislators' reports. Mr. Dennison.
I just want to remind everyone that Friday is that farm tour at Fessenden Farms. I'm sure you've all gotten the emails.
Any other legislators? Mr. Lattimore.
Mr. Chairman, it was nice to see that the White House has interest in Auburn, New York. Vice President was at Nucor, and there seems to be some issues with trade with aluminum and steel. So, but it's always nice to either have Hillary. I remember having town hall meetings with Mr. DeBico, who's on President Trump's board, Senator Schumer down there, and now the White House. So the more high officials we get in town, hopefully it'll be to our benefit.
It's definitely nice to have them around. Mr. Whitman?
I just want to bring something up here. I brought it up before. I don't remember if it was here or Ways and Means. In light of all the discussion 15 of us have had in the last week over appointments and reappointments, I think this body seriously needs to look at our committee structures and their terms. We have term limits here on the legislature. They're relatively new to this body. As much as I'd like to be here a lot longer than I'm going to be, I understand why they're in place, and I feel like these committees could also benefit from that. Some of the terms are quite lengthy, some of them aren't. So how to structure term limits on them, I'm not sure. The problem with the lengthier terms is it only takes a few terms for somebody to be on there for 20 years. We recently had an appointment of somebody that had been on the committee for 30 years. And while I have no issues with the people on these committees that have been there for a long time, I do take issue with having a term that long. I feel like cycling and getting new and fresh ideas that are changing with the times are only beneficial. I think it's something we need to look at as a body and maybe come up with some sort of plan. And legally, I don't know if we can limit it, some or all of them, but I guess it's something to look at.
Mr. Lattimore?
And that's a terrific idea, and also I'd like to see the makeup of the boards. I know that the industrial development boards, they have some academician persons, they got industrialists, they've got different varied people instead of just having one group of, let's say, educators in regards to the college board. I'd like to see a variation with the nominations too, that we fill certain segments of the population.
Mr. Dennison?
The other thing too, Mr. DeForest sent an email earlier that kind of made sense, and I agree with about wanting some information about one of the candidates. That's another thing. I don't think anyone on this body can honestly say with the number of appointments that come in front of us that they know every one of these people. I mean, we're probably lucky if we know half the people that come in front of us, but we're supposed to say yay or nay with no, we don't know this person's qualifications for this appointment, we don't know, I mean, I think we need more, because most of the time we're just blowing, I mean, a lot of times when there's a lot of them, we just bundle them and forget it and just say yes. We don't even know who we're saying yes on, because we just appointed 10 people to 5 different boards that probably we don't even know. So more information would be nice to.
Mr. DeForest?
I think the other thing that we all have to take ownership of is these positions come up, and it behooves us to go out and find candidates. We've done a pretty sorry job of that as a whole, as a group of legislators. It's very difficult. I've tried to come up with someone before for various committees, and I feel they have some good candidates, and I talk to the candidates, and they're not particularly interested. So, it's an ongoing process that needs taking a look at, but I'm not sure how you get people to accept the responsibility that we have to go out and beat the bushes, and we have to find people that are interested. That's our job, and I don't think we've been doing a particularly good job of it.
And to that point, I would say that there are times when we have to have the internal discussion of, do we want to bring someone forward publicly and get all that background information that you would need to make that appointment before we even have the conversation with that person, to make sure this body is in a place where they're going to possibly support somebody before you go and say, we're looking at you to